I still remember the sound of that knock. It was soft, almost polite, but it echoed through my empty apartment like a drumbeat. The knock that changed everything. He walked into my world carrying nothing but a worn-out backpack, a disarming smile, and without knowing it, he walked straight into my heart. For most of my life, I wasn't the woman who made time for love. While my friends were falling in and out of relationships, chasing romance, raising children, or nursing heartbreak, I was in conference rooms. I was boarding planes. I was signing contracts and watching my face appear on magazine covers. Yes, I built an empire. But brick by brick, I built something else too. A quiet, invisible life that looked powerful from the outside but was hollow on the inside. My name is Isabelle Hart. I am 50 years old. Single. Never married. Not because I was never loved, but because I never paused long enough to let anyone in. And then came that knock on my door. It was Noah. 22 years old. Fresh-faced. The son of my best friend Marianne. He had come to the city for an internship, a temporary stay, a few weeks at most. Marianne had called me from Florence weeks earlier. Isabelle, can Noah stay at your place for a while? He is quiet, responsible. You won't even notice him. You won't even notice him. I should have paid attention to those words. Because fate rarely knocks gently. That first night he called me Miss Isabelle. I laughed, corrected him. And when he said simply, Isabelle, with no hesitation, no awkwardness, something shifted. Something in his eyes, a warmth, a comfort. Something that made me feel not older, not lonely, but seen. We shared dinner that evening. It was simple conversation, but it didn't feel simple. He asked about my life, my travels, my work. Not politely. Not as filler. But with genuine curiosity. And when I asked about his photography, his whole face lit up. I love capturing people when they are not trying to be beautiful, he said. That is when they are the most real. He had no idea, but in that moment, he had already begun to uncover something in me I had buried long ago. Tell me something. Have you ever met someone who looked at you and made you feel like you were worth noticing, even when you had convinced yourself you weren't? If this story is already touching your heart, stay with me. Because what happened next would change everything. At first, I told myself Noah was just a guest. A polite, respectful young man. But by the second week, things began to shift. Small things. Unspoken things. He would pour me a second glass of wine before I even asked. He would linger in the kitchen long after the dishes were done. He would look at me like there was a question hidden behind his eyes. One night, I was reading by the balcony. He was editing photos on his laptop. Out of nowhere, he looked up and said softly, "You have this light about you when you are not trying." I laughed it off. But inside I felt it. That flutter in my chest I had not felt in years. That terrifying warmth between fear and thrill. The next day, Noah asked me something that stopped me cold. Would you let me photograph you? Me. I had not posed for a camera in decades. Not since my early 30s, for a glossy magazine cover that now felt like it belonged to another woman entirely. I don't think I am the right subject, I said, nervous, hesitant. But he just looked at me. Really? That is exactly why I want to. You are real. And it is beautiful. Beautiful. A word that had not belonged to me in years. Yet somehow he handed it back like it had never left. We started with simple shots in the living room. Natural light. No staging. At first, I felt silly, too aware of every wrinkle, every line, every curve I had learned to hide. But Noah never judged. He never laughed. If anything, he honored me. And then it happened. His hand brushed my chin just to tilt my face into the light. Brief. Respectful. But in that moment, the entire room changed. We froze, breathing the same air. Hearts strangely aligned. Neither of us moved, but my hands trembled. He had not crossed a line, but he had opened a door, and I didn't know if I wanted to close it. By the third session, he asked quietly, "Could we try something softer? Maybe in your bedroom." My breath caught. The word alone carried weight. Bedroom. It wasn't improper. Not yet. But it was intimate. Vulnerable. Still, I nodded. All right. Just the soft ones. We opened the curtains, let dusk light spill in. I sat on the edge of my bed. Silk blouse. Denim jeans. Nothing glamorous. Nothing staged. And yet I had never felt so exposed. He clicked a few frames, then stopped. "Can I ask you something crazy?" His voice was low. Careful. "That depends," I said. "I want to photograph the version of you that you hide. The woman who feels like she is not allowed to be seen." Silence. No one had ever spoken to me like that. Not a man. Not with reverence. Not with care. Something inside me loosened. Not out of lust, but out of trust. So I stood, turned slowly, unbuttoned my blouse, let it fall from my shoulders, dropped my jeans. And there I stood in nothing but my skin. Click. One frame. Then silence. When I turned back to him, Noah wasn't even holding the camera to his eye anymore. He was just looking at me. Not like I was older. Not like I was someone's boss. But like I was art. He stepped closer. So close I could hear the change in his breathing. "Is this okay?" he whispered, his hand grazing my arm. I nodded. His palm slid to my waist. His thumb traced my rib. And then, in the quietest moment of my life, he kissed me. No rush. No force. A question and an answer all at once. And God help me. I kissed him back. We did not sleep together that night. We sat on the floor of my bedroom, backs against the wall, the city glowing outside, and we talked. About life. About our fears. About what it means to be seen. It was not the kind of intimacy you could plan. It was the kind that creeps in like a tide and suddenly you are standing in deep water. Weeks passed. The photos stopped. The moments did not. His hand would brush mine in the kitchen. He would whisper things in the dark that made me feel 20 again. But with every step closer, the air thickened with guilt. I was older. I was supposed to know better. And yet, every time I looked at him, I did not feel shame. I felt alive. Now here I am, telling you this. My heart still racing. My hands still trembling. Because this is not just a story about burning desires. It is a story about what happens when someone sees you, truly sees you, and it changes you. If you were me, standing in that room, Would you have pulled away, or would you have let yourself fall? Tell me in the comments. Someone out there might need to hear your truth. And if this story touched you, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from Moonlight and Roses. Stories that dare to explore the forbidden and remind us what love really feels like.